Hello, everybody. Welcome to a bonus conversation with Danny O'Neill, the man, the myth. He's almost just a legend because he came by and he said hello, and I was like, Danny, is that Danny O'Neill? What are you doing here? You're like an apparition that's appeared in Seattle. How you doing, man?
I think you would say myth because you've heard potentially of my name, but you've never really seen me. Like it's been like the Sasquatch.
Yeah, maybe.
No, it's great to see you.
It's great to see you, man. What are you doing here?
I am in town because there is an Asian American Journalists Association convention in downtown Seattle this week. 1,300 of not just the country, but some of the world's best Asian American journalists. And my wife is a former officer in the organization, so she goes every year, and I tagged along with her as somewhat of a homecoming. I guess it's the first time I've been back in a year. I came back about this time last year.
All right. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Klamath Falls, Oregon,
nice.
Which is on the feral half of the state.
Yeah, it's beautiful there, though. Come on, Klamath Falls.
No, I love it.
There's some tubing you could do there.
I love it, but it is borderline high desert, a lot of scrub pine. It is rocky terrain.
Sure.
My father, who graduated from the University of California at Berkeley in 1972, which is the height of the free speech movement, moved to Oregon to kill trees. He became a logger. So I grew up the son of a logger in the eastern half of Oregon.
I mean, logging is a very honest day's work. There's no doubt about it. It is a lot of, I know a lot of guys have gone into that. A lot of people have gone into it. So it's a lot of work. So now, you're all over Seattle sports, Seattle Times, Seattle PI as well.
I did.
Right.
I worked 3 times at the Seattle Times.
the third time to charm. Yes. No?
I think the third was the third was my happiest time there. The first one I answered phones when I was a senior in college.
I did that when I started my
and
career.
Answered and took down high school scores.
Okay.
And it was probably the lowest job in the newsroom. And then I came back and covered high school sports for about 4 years. Then I went to the Seattle PI to cover the Sonics. That time when I left, they didn't like that. They brought my office to me in a box. They emptied my desk into a box, hauled it off to me, and there was loose change coming out. Then after 4 years at the PI, I went back to the Times, and then I covered the Seahawks for the Seattle Times for about 7 years.
That experience. That's when you really realize the transactional nature of employment. And now you and I both get to be on the other side of this, where we're our own bosses. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And you have transitioned by the way, your Sonics coverage was great. I was a Blazers fan, but great Sonics coverage. And then the Seahawks coverage was legendary. Then you were on 710. You were all over the place, man. Like great stuff. And now you're an author for a living. Yes.
Well, author would imply that I've had a book published. I'm hoping to have a book published. Aspiring author. I'm trying to pivot from what I've done, which has been sports media coverage in both print and on air, toward nonfiction writing, where I kind of pick the topics. I still do some sports. I have a column every other week in the News Tribune. I have a newsletter, which is a mix of Seattle sports. I still do write a fair amount about Seattle sports, but it's from the perspective of my couch. And then I also mix in some of the newer stuff that I'm doing, which is a lot of emotional navel gazing. I'm whining about my feelings.
Okay. That sounds appropriate.
Yeah. And I have a column in Seattle Magazine, and then I'm working on a book about grudges.
Oh, I like that.
Do you hold grudges?
So that's a good question, because I was brought up in a family that was very grudge oriented. My mom, you crossed her and you were excommunicated. Like you were no longer part of and so I grew up that way. And so I started realizing by college, like people would do these things that annoy me, and I'd be like, you're out. And I'm like, God, I'm not going to have many friends in my life. I'm in a very small world. It's going to be high quality, but it's going to be very narrow. And so I started to really lower my standards and like try to not have any grudges as much as possible, except with one really clear exception, which is the San Francisco 49ers.
Sports grudges are exempted.
I fucking hate the 49ers. I hate their fans. I hope they lose every game they ever play. I will never give up that grudge.
You know what's funny is I felt very much the same way when I was in high school and then after high school. I moved to Central California for high school. My family did. and I was surrounded by 49er fans during the height of their Joe Montana transition to Steve Young, Jerry Rice.
Back when they mattered.
And I hated Niner fans for a long low key. I don't hate 49er fans as much anymore.
Danny.
I know.
I've got a grudge against you.
I know.
I'm adding you to the list.
So I did, and I really enjoyed the fact that Pete Carroll won the rivalry with Jim Harbaugh.
That was so delicious.
It was pretty incredible.
It was great.
It was great. They were the big king on the block in 2011. In 2012, it was they got to the Super, and then in 2013 it turned and he won. It was a pro wrestling rivalry grudge match that Pete won.
Well, for everybody outside of this area, and everybody maybe even that's a little farther from the Seahawks, they think about that season and they think about like beating Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl and all the things that happened there. But that season was so special, not just because they won the Super Bowl, but because Pete Carroll, Doug Baldwin, Richard Sherman, like there were hardcore hateful grudges going on, and they were our big. They thought of the Seahawks and Seattle as just like pocket lint, like you just brush off. And you could see them start in 2012 when they beat them 42-13. Like, whoa, wait, what's happening? And then before they knew it, the Seahawks were the ones that were the bully on the block. And we're back in this situation now. The season starts with the 49ers. 49ers fans, they won 6 games last year. They lost a bunch of guys. If you look and see their expectations, they all think they're going to win the division. They all think they're going to blow the Seahawks out in this first game. And man, I'm here for it. Yeah. I'm here for it. What's your take? Like, I know you're a little farther from the team, but new coach, new direction. What do you think about what's going on in Seattle?
I'm really interested to see how this season and sort of the post-Pete regime unfolds. And I think there's a lot of reasons to be really excited about the direction of the defense. You look at how they played the second half of last season. Now, this year with their offense, there's going to be a lot of questions. You have a new quarterback. You have 2 of your top 3 receivers are gone. I think there's going to be a lot of sort of change and growing pains in the passing game if their offensive line is improved. I could see a situation where you've got a strong running game and you have a really good defense, and then gradually the passing game gets up to speed. But I think that what they have on defense, I could certainly see a situation where you've got a top five defense.
I think that should be the expectation. That should be the expectation. And I think one of the least told stories around the NFL, I'm going to try to put this in Burt Breer's ear, who's here from MMQB, is Mike Macdonald was hired because when he was with the Ravens, systematically took apart every one of the best offensive coordinators in football. And then he came to Seattle, and yes, the first game against Kyle Shanahan did not go well, but that was that precipitated a bunch of moves and changes on personnel. From that point forward, Sean McVay held him to 7 3-and-outs, 13 points in regulation, dominated them in that first game, even though they lost. Dominated Shanahan down in Santa Clara with Christian McCaffrey and all that going on. Dominated both Cardinals games. So I think people have forgotten, like everyone's so focused on the offensive geniuses, McVay and Shanahan. I think Seahawks might have a defensive genius that might be their foil.
Now, for years under Pete, their defense was, I don't want to say simple because no NFL defense is simple, but it was not a scheme that was designed to sort of take apart an opponent's weakness.
Exactly.
It was something that was designed so guys were able to play fast and free. And with Mike Macdonald, you have very much a scheme in which he wants interchangeable parts among that front 7, and that you can never expect or predict where the pressure is going to come from.
Right.
And certainly adding DeMarcus Lawrence with another year older for Derek Hall and Boye Mafe, I could see a situation where you've got great pressure that is able to come from unexpected places. And the improvement of the defense last year shows that Mike knows what he wants. And when they make changes and get the right guys in position, once they got Ernest Jones, you saw a significant uptick in how their defense performed. I'm really excited to see what happens.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wish you could have seen them on a day where they're not going to be in T-shirts and shorts, because Nicky Minwari, you talked about where the pressure is coming from. The guy's 6'3", 220 plus pounds, runs like a deer. And they're playing him as a nickel. And one of the things that Devin Witherspoon, his rookie year, sensation, not only as a coverage player, but as a blitzer. Last year, they kind of picked up on him and they kind of made sure to have someone to pick him up. Now it's like, okay, well, Witherspoon's here. Eamon Worry's here. Ernest Jones is also a good blitzer. To your point, I think they're going to be a lot more aggressive than they were a year ago. And I think they have the horses to give a lot of offenses trouble.
It's going to be very fun to see. And this is a change from what was 12 years of Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
And I think the returns on the first year, and I don't know how it'll work out with Sam Darnold, but I think that you see John Schneider running the same playbook he did when they had to change from Matt Hasselbeck, which is he's not going to pay and commit multiple years to a quarterback until he knows he's the guy. And maybe Sam's that guy, or maybe Jalen Milroe gets a shot in a year to compete with somebody else. But I certainly think that there's a lot of room to be excited about what they're building.
All right. Well, one last question before I let you go, because I know you're a popular man.
I'm not popular.
John Schneider signs an extension today. Thoughts on that?
I am a pretty big John Schneider fan.
Okay.
And someone who has watched the MO that he has used to build. And I'm not someone who's going to say, hey, he is the perfect GM, or there haven't. I think there are some questions about how they've managed the offensive line over the years. Mm-hmm. But I also think that you consistently see when he extends players, those players get better. When they have re-signed guys, that the system that they have here, and even for quarterback, yeah, he's brought in a lot of guys on sort of test drives that maybe haven't panned out. They have not swung and missed on a multiple year commitment to a quarterback. And to stay good in the NFL, to stay good, and that's really what we're talking about, is a team that they haven't been great really since Sherman and Chancellor went down in that Thursday night game. Yep. But they've also rebuilt without bottoming out. Exactly. And I think that there is something to be said for the quality of that. I am a huge proponent of extending him and keeping him, because I think that he has a sound system for evaluating and developing talent. And you want to see what's going to happen with him paired with this coach.
Well, we've got a comment here, Dan. I'll read this to you from Will Fries, who somehow has signed with the Vikings, but still comments on these chats. It says, Danny and Hawk Blogger together at last. Danny, you are missed, man. Question for both of you. Who do you think will have more carries this year, Ken Walker or Zach Charbonnet? And who do you think should get more carries?
I'm going to go with Zach Charbonnet, and that is based largely on injury history. I think Zach Charbonnet has been the more durable of the two backs, and so I would go with that. But Ken Walker is obviously the one with the bigger play potential. I have had a long time belief that guys who tend to get hurt don't stop getting hurt, that generally goes through, but we'll see. I really like the consistency that Charbonnet runs with. And it's not a criticism of Walker, because you can't blame a guy for getting hurt. I just think I really like Charbonnet's style, and I hope to see them throw to him more out of the backfield too, because I think he's got great hands.
Danny, thanks for spending some time. Welcome back. And where should people find you?
You can log on at DannyO'Neill.com. It's all one word. It is half Seattle sports. I don't want to say it's all about me whining about my feelings. There is some of that. And you can just not read that part if you just want Seahawks thoughts. I usually make a couple posts a week about Seattle sports.
Awesome. Make sure to check it out. Appreciate you, Danny. All right, everybody. We'll be back with more later.